I've said this before, but not on this channel. The best fun was on the milk round when Charles and Diana got married. There was everybody had the photograph of Charles and a big blown up photo, a huge portrait of Charles and Diana in the living room window or in the porch or wherever. And the thing we had to do on the milk round, we all had to do it. We had to duck under Prince Charles's ears and shout "Jug Lugs!" at whatever time in the morning, possibly 6 in the morning. Every time we passed it, the politicians, he all knew we were loonies. But I don't want to upset anybody, but the best one was the indicator. That's they were a little sort of what we call them carriers, like a little wire mesh carrier cage thing, and it had like it would have the room for 2 pints or 4, and there's a little dial on, and they put the dial to how many pints they wanted that particular day, and the boss would want to know because he'd write it down in the book, so he remembered, so he'd know how much to charge him. And my mate used to go to this house, and he'd come back, and the boss would say. No, this lad would shout the name, but he deliberately used to shout the wrong name. What were they called? Oliver or Cromwell? And he'd say deliberately say the wrong one, either Cromwell or Oliver. And one day the boss went to the door, knocked on the door, and because the lad had said the wrong name so many times, he said the wrong name to the customers. "Hello, Mrs." And oh, sorry, that stupid lad. Because he'd shout the name and say 2 pints or 3 pints or whatever, and the boss would write it down. And there's one called Blair as well. I think they had they had an indicator. I told us at the start of the week that my mate would shout the names of the customers he wanted to know how many we wanted, and go Blair. I don't know who this customer was, but and then of course there was Kenneth. I know, he died not so long ago. He's a really good. Apparently, I never had him for maths as a maths teacher, but apparently he was a really good bloke. But they were terrible. My brother was doing some things with the computer system in the school because he was quite good with computers, and he used to install computers into schools and that. And he went to do some fault finding, and he was in the room that this teacher was in. He said to the teacher, "Beth, they're well behaved now, aren't they?" And I remember what we were like. What my brother didn't know was it wasn't me who did it, what the lads were like. Because we delivered his milk. Or we walked past his house, and it was, I was had to walk round the porch in front of the two fronts of the houses to get the next porch. And the lad who delivered it, there was 2 or 3 different lads delivered that particular pint, and I never delivered it. I don't know whether we delivered to us, but they walked past it. And every morning, it was Mr. Dodd. They would shout, "Kenneth!" Because it wasn't his name, but that's what they used to shout at him. Ken Dodd. They were terrible. I better not say anymore. I don't want to embarrass anybody. Because some of them, they're really sort of really funny names for the teachers, and they'd shout it at them. I never did it. I mean, it wasn't that I was scared. I mean, I was just brought up different to the rest of them. I'd have got in serious trouble for that sort of behaviour at home. And I mean, I didn't argue with my dad because, I mean, when I used to stack 4-stone sacks, I used to say I used to stack 4-stone sacks 70 hours a week. And my dad used to take mick out of me and say, "Well, only 4-stone sacks," because he used to say he started sacking 16-stone sacks when he was 14, and you could hear it in his voice. And his cousins it was worse for them because, I mean, he was sacking them in a hayloft, so there'd be a field full. It would only be 2 days' work. But his cousins were permanently employed at the goods yard, emptying. Oh, they would only empty trains. I don't think they'd fill them, but they were old 2-axle trucks with a sliding door. They were full of 16-stone sacks of grain. They had no lifting equipment, 1 sack each. Inside the door, 1 sack each, and they had to lift them out. 16-stone sacks. A complete train full. They'd empty it. They'd reverse that train out, and another one would come in. They were employed permanently doing that, but that was common it was just after World War II. They were lucky to have a job and that, and they didn't mind. But yeah, I mean, some of the jobs in those days, people look at me and thinking the things I've done are mad, but that sort of thing was common then. I mean, blacksmiths. I saw a bloke on telly. He made a really, in modern days, it was a few years ago, he made a replica of a really ancient sword. It was a really flash sword, and it took him weeks. He wasn't so was he a qualified blacksmith? I don't know, but he was a modern bloke, and he really struggled to make this sword. And he said he lost 7 pounds of sweat. I thought, what, in 2 weeks? I mean, was it before or after? I hadn't done from Northallerton to Osmotherley to Boltley and back for a long time. Yeah, and that was the thing. I suddenly did it out of the blue. I hadn't practiced or anything. I had not put no training in, and I went right across. It's 34 miles, and it's literally like going up and down Sutton Bank. It's the same fault plane. Just this vale, it's a fault. It's due to tectonic plate action. It either separates or closes up, and the centre either goes up or down. The centrepiece either goes up or down because it fractures at both sides. That's what this vale is. It's a fault. It's a fault. Two faults. There's a fault at either side. And I was going up. You go up and down the same hill multiple times. And it was a really muggy, hot September day, and I lost 7 pounds in sweat in about 5 hours. But that's normal for me. I mean, that's bad. I'd sweat more than that in the dairy. It'd be hotter as well. But yeah, I mean, I thought I didn't do that that ride for 15 years. I thought, what on earth's wrong with me? But that was the thing. I hadn't worked for years because I was ill, and I used to often go out and drink 5 pints, and it weakens you. It really is bad for you. But I mean, I couldn't understand why it was so difficult and why I sweated so much. It was because I was out of condition and I drunk all the time, and I was literally picking. I was so thirsty. It was out in the middle of nowhere. I was picking empty bottles up that people had chucked out of cars and drinking the dregs out of them. And of course, there was brambles about, what do you call them, blackberries. Yeah, I was eating them for moisture. I mean, I wasn't hungry because, I mean, I'd have to work for 4 hours continuous at the dairy, stacking 4-stone sacks in hotter temperatures without a drink. They just gave us all we needed is breaks and that. And I didn't eat much because you don't eat a lot when you're working like that. I'd have a bowl of cereal at 5 o'clock when I got up. I'd start work at 6. We got a break at, 8 o'clock. I'd have a piece of toast and a cup of tea, a piece of fruit pie and custard, and a cup of tea at dinner time, 12 o'clock. And if I was still there at, was it 4 o'clock in the next one? Yeah. Everyone had gone home, the canteen had clutched shut, and there'd be food left out for us, a sandwich or something. And I'd usually work till 6, but one day there was a mistake. They said, can you do, I've done 10 hours, the foreman came in, he says, can you do another 2 hours in? I said, yeah. He says, I'll send so-and-so from Creamery, get someone from Creamery to come and take over. And it's 8 o'clock, he came in and he said, Ian, are you still here? I said, yeah. He says, I sent so-and-so to take over, but the creamery was cold because they made butter and that in there, and obviously he didn't turn up, he didn't fancy doing my job because it wasn't, 4-stone sacks were a bit heavier than slabs of butter, and it was red hot, and I don't think he fancied sweating like a loony and that. And he'd gone home and hadn't said anything to anybody. And I'd had to work an extra 2 hours and then another extra 2 hours. And they just said, because they just didn't stop making powder that day. And they said, you can go home, it doesn't matter. I'll get someone out at plant to continue with your job. But yeah, I mean, things like that happen. What was I on about? I've forgotten. I've gone on for ages, haven't I? Yeah. Was it work or something? I can't remember.